Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast, brought to you by mmobomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. It's Friday, it's 1 p.m. Eastern. That means here on twitch.tv/mmobomb, we're doing the podcast live. We've got chat standing by, chiming in on all kinds of fun stuff as we go. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Audible, Spotify, any of the podcast platforms, thank you so much. Give it a like, a subscribe, turn on those notifications. But most importantly, on YouTube or on mmobomb.com, put your weekly bombs and question of the week answers down below for the next podcast. There won't be one next week. I'll be traveling to Chicago, so I'll be out next Friday. But then we'll be back the following week. I think that's like the 31st. So 1 week off next Friday. But get those answers down there. It's an important part of the show. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today. Joining me to do it, oh, look at that, is Mr. Jason Winter. Oh, man. What's up, boss?
Can you believe it? Some things never change. I'm still here. I still have the Twitter icon below, but you had the X on your page, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. I updated all the slides for all the hosts to get the X icon for everybody, to get the blue sky icon for Q. And I just totally skipped the Jason Winter ones because I was like, he doesn't do the show anymore. I'll just skip those.
But then when we do the 3-person view, it's going to still be Twitter because that's what you're showing us in the or blue sky. You're all over the place.
Yeah, follow Jason on
you new
X.
With this?
Follow me on X. Follow Q on Blue Sky.
I'm still cranky. I got to bring the crank.
I let Jason out of his cage. How you been, brother? What have you been doing?
Streaming, making videos. Talk about that later. That'll be at the endorsement part. I don't want to shove it down your throats the whole show.
Sure. All right, we can do that. Is that why I'm going to Chicago to rent the venue for the MMOBomb con?
I was in Chicago actually 2 months ago for a convention.
I'll be in Chicago next week for a Final Fantasy trading card game tournament. So, and Combo Breaker is that weekend as well. So I might stop by there and see some friends. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
You said fade to black before doing the intro thing, and now I have painted black stuck in my head, so thanks.
Well, I just want to let everybody here know, if you go back and you look at videos on MMOBomb or Game Breaker or wherever in the past, we all look younger. That was established in chat pre-show that we all look younger. It's kind of funny how that works. We've only been doing this I think combined. I mean, Jason, you have like the longest tenured working for game content creation, whether it's online or in print or whatever. I think you have the longest period of time resume out of everybody here. But I think
we're going to talk about this a little bit because I was actually looking at old Scry magazines, and I found it was 25 years ago, 25 years ago, give or take a month or two, when they first talked about Pokemon.
Yeah, it is weird how aging works, Churro.
And I saw one of my articles there with my picture next to it, and I was like, good God.
You're like, I was a baby. I was just a baby. I still have in the background right there the 6-pack of the 24 card game starter deck. Still sealed, baby, with Jason Winter's name on the back.
It's worth at least $3 now, I'm sure.
I think I paid like $16 for a sealed 6-pack
Great
of starter
Mike.
decks.
Great investment.
Just because of his white hair, he's the most experienced. Well, yeah, I mean, he is our Anderson Cooper.
It might have something to do with the fact that Mike and I took very different routes to get to do this. I spent a lot of time in kitchens before I ended up here.
I'm still waiting to use this someday.
What eventually. Is that? What? Oh, is that?
Hair dye.
Yeah, blue.
Yeah, but I did green once.
My grandfather used to do green for St. Patrick's Day every year.
Oh, okay.
And he had pure, white hair like yours too, and he was.
It's not pure white. There's some color there. So there's still some darkness. White is like actual Anderson Cooper. I've got something grayish. Give me that look. Give me that look.
He's like fighting. He's like, there's still a brown hair or two in there. Shut up.
Well, I mean, there's white and then there's.
Do I have to cut it and show you the hairs on screen?
He's not pulling a Xerophil and Good Omens here.
I think I should probably just hit the news bump and let's get started.
Should have done a Good Omens reference. Q would have gotten it immediately, right?
Here we go. Chat say go back to reading your newspaper, Grandpa. All right. So what I thought we'd talk about today, like we do have some news. We'll go through that, some closings, some oddball things happening, a new direction for Wayfinder, which I think is a very interesting discussion to have. Whether or not it'll be successful, we'll see, and we'll give our opinions. But instead of talking about like, you know, live services or, you know, MMO topics in general, like we have been for the last month or two, which has been a lot of fun, and we love your input in the comments that we're able to bring to the show. So please keep that up. Hope you'll do that today as well. I figured let the three of us who have these, you know, years and years of experience doing this at multiple different outlets. Like a lot of people ask different questions about what it's like to do things behind the scenes. So I thought we'd take just a few minutes today and kind of talk about some of our maybe favorite things, maybe our not so favorite things about working for media outlets, whether it's MMOBomb or Game Breaker or Beckett or whoever, doesn't matter, just not exclusive to any of that. And chat, by the way, if you have questions, as long as we're not under contract or anything, or an NDA, of course we'll go ahead and answer them to the best of our ability. Chat, you can throw some there, and I'll bring them to the next show in 2 weeks. So, Jason, you, 25 years. You said 25 years-ish.
Yeah, I think give another year or two, probably, that I actually started. This is the article I was looking at.
Where did you, like, start?
In terms of media, in terms of that, after I left Decipher in 98, early 98, I started writing for Scry while I was at Decipher. You know, when writing stuff for our company.
Was reading Scry in high school as you were writing it.
Maybe. You're only, 6 years younger than me, I think?
I graduated in 99. I was reading Scry.
99, okay.
Yeah, I was reading Scry 96,
You read that first
97,
Pokemon magazine I was talking about, probably, yeah.
No, I was a Magic the Gathering guy then.
Well, the magazine was there.
Yeah. So like 27-ish then.
26, 27, something like that, yeah. That's a lot of words.
What's one of your favorite things? Now, and again, it doesn't have to be specific to video gaming or anything like that. Like, what has been one of your favorite aspects of doing this type of work?
Getting paid to do this crap.
It is kind of weird when you think about it, right? Like, somebody's giving me a paycheck for this.
It is. It's interesting having watched over that time span. And, you know, I'm not super IGN guy with 10 million views on a video or whatever, but it has been interesting seeing it evolve from magazines and people, you know, very early on blog posts, people doing the occasional like videos you might see or something. Like I remember watching X Play when I was, around 2000 or whatever, back when G4 and X Play and all that was like, wow, we're talking about video games on TV. Holy crap!
Yeah,
that was like the holy grail back then. You couldn't believe that. And then going on now and doing, when we started doing podcasts for Game Breaker, when I was doing those in like 2011. Again, there wasn't a whole lot doing that, and now, 8 million podcasts or whatever. Just seeing it all grow over that time span has been really interesting. Seeing me going from a niche, I can't believe this is actually people actually talking about this. I can actually read or watch videos about this sort of thing, onto now with 1 million podcasts and YouTube channels and all this other stuff. It's really interesting to see how it's just grown over that time frame.
Yeah, it was always like weird, like thinking back, right? It was it was something you talked about with your friends, when you had the NES and stuff like that. You were talking about the latest game, and then you but that was it. And then you kind of started to see like Nintendo Power, right? Start putting things in
my
print.
first Nintendo Power magazine.
And then you got, had like Game Pro and other magazines that were more general purpose video games, not just strictly Nintendo and things like that. And I still buy occasionally. I don't subscribe to any of them or anything. But like if I'm at Barnes & Noble and I see a cover on one, then I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll pick up that edition of Retro Gamer and, flip through it.
Who's the grandpa reading magazines now?
I'll flip through it and then use it to line the bottom of the birdcage when I'm done with it. Q, what about you? Like, you obviously took different paths from Jason. You and I are kind of similar. We worked other jobs, weren't even in this type of stuff, and we're just like, yeah, well, sure, why not? How did you get into this, and what are some of your more like general favorite aspects of working in this business?
Well, it's funny because like you guys mentioned the magazines, right? And where I did read like, PC Gamer and all of those, like actually got the magazines and stuff for it. The first magazines ever that talked about video games in it that I personally got when I was in high school was something called Science Fiction Age and Realms of Fantasy. Like they were twin magazines that were like lots of short stories, and there was always a feature in them about a video game. Like
Right.
that was it. Because there was a video game feature, a movie feature, a book feature, and then the rest of it was like short stories and a feature about some sort of science discovery. But so I'm like that was me reading it. I mean, I'm very much like my dad was. I've done a lot of different jobs in my lifetime. So I've worked in restaurants. I mean, I kind of grew up working in restaurants, but I've worked in restaurants. Do you know those jobs where like, or the thing where like when tax time comes around, you take your W-2 to the car companies, so they'll just go ahead and do your W-2 for you, and you can get the car.
Oh, yeah.
I was the person who like went through and verified that everything in the document was good before we sent it off to the IRS.
Wow, talk about totally outside of this industry. Like,
right?
Like I was a waiter, I was a waitress. You're like, no, I was the tax person. Oh, so you like work for H&R Block? No, I did not work for H&R.
I did waiting tables too. I worked as a chef. I worked as a dishwasher. I did everything that you could possibly do in the food industry for sure, and retail. But so I was actually finishing up college because I would like go to school, move somewhere, go start school again there, and like so it took me a while to get through college. And I was finishing up college right around the time that Gary was starting Game Breaker. And I knew about Gary from Mog, his podcast that he did with Ryan Vernier.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I knew about him from. And he did the thing where he played with that little social media thing, right? Gax for a while.
Oh, geez.
And we became friends through Gax. So when he started Game Breaker, I followed him to Game Breaker, and I was hanging out there, and I'm watching like what's happening, the stuff that is going on with the community. And at some point I just got really fed up and like wrote a set of rules for Game Breaker, like community rules, and gave it to him. And he's like, do you want to be the community manager? I was like, sure, that's fine. But by that point, I'm living in Atlanta. I'm like working at Whole Foods, and he comes along and he's like, so I can't pay you to do community management, but I can pay you to write. That's how I ended up writing for and just kind of got stuck with it ever since.
Gary paid you?
Well, that's
Mazdoc asking whatever happened to Gary and Game Breaker. Game Breaker went under, expanded arguably too fast for what it was trying to do, and kind of ran into financial stuff.
Dedicated to conspiracy theories.
Yeah, kind of ran into financial stuff and couldn't be self-sustained anymore. Gary's still doing his thing in ad work and stuff like that.
He's doing music. Well, the last I knew, he was doing music-related stuff, right?
Yeah, so he kind of just kept doing that type of stuff that he was doing outside.
But he always retained one ad contract the entire time he was doing it.
Yep.
With some auto insurance company or something.
Yep. No, with Amco.
I actually like, and chat pointing out, like, in our lifetime, we've seen gaming go from a niche hobby to a very, very mainstream hobby, and that is very neat. That is very, very neat to see. And then I went, I kind of went, I've always been a gamer and always done, theater and performance and stuff like that. And so when I started watching Game Breaker podcasts at the time, like even for games that I wasn't heavily invested in, I played Rift, but I'd watch The Sanctum, even though I wasn't actively playing Rift and stuff like that. And
we drifted.
Yeah, we did. That was years later. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. Like, I want to go hang out with this Jason guy or with Lore or whatever, and Mike B and Gary and do these podcasts. And but I had no resume when it came to this type of stuff. Like, I had written a couple online articles that weren't gaming related or anything like that. But and so I just started searching for a site that was looking for people. And I stumbled on MMOBomb. They were looking for people to create first look videos on not a per diem, what's it called? An ad hoc basis. you'd get paid per video that you produced. You weren't staff freelance. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I emailed them, and the owner was like, yeah, sure. Well, here's a game. Want you to do 15 to 25-minute first look video on this, and if it's good, we'll post it, and I'll pay you this. And if it's not good and I don't end up using it, I'll pay you this lesser amount just for your time, and you can go away. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, yeah, great. How do you record video game footage? Like, I don't know. What the hell's fraps? Oh my God, it's $35. I don't have
that crap on the fly.
Right? I don't have $35. The fuck, man? How would I get rid of this watermark?
Yeah.
And so just started doing MMOBomb stuff, and then eventually had enough of a resume with videos and written content as freelance for MMOBomb that when I wrote Gary and Game Breaker, they were like, yeah, fine, come on.
I was actually the person who brought you on to Game Breaker.
Yeah, Q was the one that reached out and was like, hey,
because you sent a video, and Gary had put me in charge of like looking through all the videos. And I was like, this is actually not like the other stuff that we get. Like, this is actually somebody who knows how to do stuff. This is perfect for what you're looking for.
This is not some dude sitting in the bathroom. Hey, I like MMOs. I want to come and talk about MMOs.
Well, there was one guy who had like a pile of laundry as high as his head behind him on his bed.
So what? Yeah, we all. Yes, I've seen chat, and I'm trying to get to some of your questions too. Yes, we do get free games sometimes. Jasmine was with the Sanctum. Yes, IRL Jasmine. She did some other shows too, but primarily the Sanctum. That was before my time. She kind of left just as I was joining in. But Jason, you worked with her quite a bit on this.
I did a couple tweens. I was never on Sanctum, but I think we did.
Oh, you weren't on Sanctum? Yes, we do get free games. Not all the time. Not as much as you probably think we do. But we definitely do. Guild Wars is a pretty good one. ArenaNet's pretty good about tossing us copies of the expansions and stuff like that. Elder Scrolls, not so much. They've done.
Blizzard never talks to us.
Blizzard never gives anything away for free. If you are not that like top tier internet content creator or website, it's very hard to get stuff from Blizzard.
The last thing that I got for free from Blizzard was when I was at Game Breaker, and it was when they did like their first streamed /live BlizzCon.
Yes.
Yeah, and they sent a care package.
Yes,
and
I got
like
that
had
too.
the level 90 lanyard and the what are those stupid things called? The things that you blow up and smack them together or whatever.
The smacky blowy up sticks.
Yeah, those things. Like it had, so it was so you could have a watch party with your friends. So they sent enough to have an entire watch party.
I wish I only bought 6 boxes of WildStar. Chat. I bought 11 to be exact. To be fair, 10 of them were like $5 each when they were trying to just liquidate them from shelves, and you could go get a code and redeem it for amount. Definitely not WildStar. So interestingly, I will say WildStar is one of the games that's actually flown me somewhere. So in addition to getting some free stuff from them, NCSoft, and this was back in the Game Breaker days, NCSoft flew a bunch of us out for a press junket weekend with the WildStar team. And so we got the first like real hands-on with it where we were actually allowed to come back with footage. We got time sitting there. Hey, all right. Yeah, what's up? What's up, Play Wayfinder? We're going to get to you in a minute, you crazy sons of bitches over there. Airship Syndicate's Wayfinder executive producer, the EP, sitting in chat. Oops, wrong account.
Whatever, close enough.
We're going to get to you in a second. And you have an interview posting today, right? What time does that post? I didn't see any times on it. Anyway, so yeah, we will get to you in a second. So they flew us out to San Francisco, and we did some gameplay. It was like a two or 3 day thing. We had one-on-one time with Jeremy Gaffney. Remember Jeremy Gaffney?
Mhm.
That was one of Jason's favorite people. He's like, could you just shut up? Yeah. So we do get things like that. Yeah. And not just free games, not as many as you think. But occasionally, we got, what was the most recent one we got? V Rising sent us copies, even though we already had it. Yeah. Gigantic sent us copies. Yeah. Normally what'll happen is we'll arrange a giveaway, at least on the MMOBomb side of things. We'll arrange a giveaway. So like Wayfinder's in chat and they say, hey man, we'd like to put a giveaway up on mmorpg.com. We got whatever, a special cosmetic cape. We'll send you 1,000 keys. We'll be like, okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead. We'll put, what day do you want to put it up? We'll coordinate it all. We'll put it up. And then it's normally like, oh, by the way, here's 5 extra keys for your staff. Like the people that put comments on stuff that are like, you're just saying nice stuff. And this doesn't go for us, but much bigger creators too. Like, you're just saying nice stuff because they sent you a copy of the fucking game. If you are selling your integrity for a copy of a game, then you don't deserve to be working in this field at all. That's
on my list of things that I hate the most about this. Is
doing this type of work. Go ahead.
Is people talking and saying, "Oh, you're just saying that because they paid." Not like the game, because they paid you. They're paying you $1,000 or whatever to say a nice review.
I wish they paid me $1,000.
And I wish
to say something nice about their game.
I wish it was that easy.
Kisasha says, "Do smaller companies give you keys more often, or am I imagining things?" Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's fair to say that smaller companies are more apt because obviously we're not a huge site. 10,000 followers on Twitter, 100 and whatever thousand followers on YouTube, and whatever million views on the site. So we're not like IGN or there are individual content creators that are a lot bigger than us. We know where we are in the playing field. But smaller games are more apt to toss keys to as many people as they can, regardless of the outlet size, to get that buzz, good or bad, or just eyeballs on the product than, say, like trying to hit Blizzard up for an expansion key, which is a much harder task and is going to be reserved for those bigger individual content creators or websites. I will tell you one thing that I hate dealing with, and then Q will go to you for something you hate dealing with. I hate dealing with cease and desists. The first cease and desist I got that was related to anything I did was back on Game Breaker, and I nearly crapped my pants. Like,
it's terrifying.
It is terrifying the first time you get a cease and desist, right? You're not a lawyer. You don't recognize that a cease and desist has virtually no legal standing, right? A cease and desist means nothing on a legal front. It is simply their first contact with you to try to rectify something before it turns into a legal matter. However, these companies are big. They have teams of lawyers. You don't. You don't have a lawyer. You don't know a lawyer. And you get a very legal-looking document or email or whatever with all kinds of sourcing on it and accusations and what they want changed and everything. I crap myself, man, when I got the first one.
What's it about?
I don't even remember what it was about at Game Breaker. I was just too scared. And it's one of those things where you're like, should I just take the piece down? Should I just fucking take it down? Like, take the whole thing down? I'll just take the whole thing down.
On the website? On the internet?
Yeah, forget it. I'll just take the whole thing down. Now they're just an inconvenience, right? Like, when I get a cease and desist, I'll see it, and I'm like, ah, shit, here goes another 45 minutes with Activision's lawyers gone from my day. Activision is very prone, or I should say Blizzard, but also Activision. They are very prone to cease and desist for things. But typically, it's like I'll pick up.
Shitty.
Yeah, I'll pick up the phone
Right.
and I'm like, okay, what is your exact beef? And I'll talk to their lawyers for 15, 20 minutes. And if it's something I want to fight, I'll fight. If it's something that it's like, okay, I can see, let's change the language a little bit and we'll come to an agreement on the language and stuff like that. It's normally easy. Then you get the lunatics that don't have lawyers either and just start threatening lawsuits. Jason, remember that one with
I know exactly what you're thinking of.
With the I don't even remember.
Marvel Heroes.
Yeah, he was going to buy Marvel Heroes, and Jason looked into it.
That guy.
Yeah, the guy that it was like he owned some diploma
Gene
place.
something. I
Yeah,
don't
it
remember
was,
his last name.
and
It was like some building that was like in a neighborhood somewhere.
yeah, it was
like,
some like
at the
online
house.
school, but when you look it up, it's his house, and it was. I remember getting letters from him, and Jason's like, "What do you want me to do?" And I'm like looking through the letters, and I'm looking through Jason's piece over and over, which was already very carefully curated.
Yeah, we spent like a whole day
Yeah.
working on it. You and I together going back and forth. I
Yep.
remember that.
And it
We
was
tried calling the number of his university.
yeah. And finally, we were just like, publish it, and he blasted us all over the multiple emails, and that's one where we've just like, we're not doing anything. We are not doing anything. Because you send me an email, fine, whatever. We'll have a discussion. I'll at least extend you the professional courtesy, but your email legally means nothing. And if you think you want to push this, and I remember the owner of the site was like, should we just take it down? And I'm like, it only has to last a year. I'm like, if you don't get sued in a year, it's too late to sue you for this anyway, particularly because he started conversations. He did not sue us. Spoiler, he did not sue us. He did not sue us. Q, what do you hate?
Well, the cease and desist thing, but that's only happened to me once, thank God. But it was freaking Bobby Kotick.
Was it?
What?
It was when you left me. You had left me in charge of the website, and I didn't realize we had changed the wording on that disclaimer
on
at
the
bottom.
boilerplate. Yeah,
And I used the same disclaimer, and they like the next day, and you're just like,
I was like,
really?
Oh,
you're just like, and
the whole Activision lawsuit stuff. We used to have a
Oh,
boilerplate at the bottom that was like,
right.
just like keeping you posted on the biggest stuff. And things had changed, so we updated that boilerplate with updated links, like you do as a responsible website. And Q just snagged it off of an old piece, and Bobby Kotick's lawyers were so pissed because it was at that time there were accusations with no resolution. And by the time this piece went up, there was somewhat resolution on it that wasn't included in the boilerplate. I was like, oh, God, Q, don't worry about it. Yeah, I talked to their lawyers. It's fine. We're all good. We're all good.
Yeah, I was definitely, because they emailed, right? They don't just email the website. So I got the email too, and I was like...
I saw another question here about...
Well, you did. The other thing I hate now that Jason is gone is when Mike tries to pass me financials.
Financial pieces.
Just like, no. Don't do that.
I'm like, Q, this one's easy. All you got to say is they're down. Yeah, but there's a lot of minutia I'm going to get stuck in. And I'm like, okay, you're probably right. I'll do it. Speaking of financial stuff and the like, are you guys full-time 9-to-5 jobs? I know for Mike, it's not. For me, it is not. No. I do MMO. I mean, it is like the time I put into it is, I wish it was just 9-to-5, but it is a full-time job, but it is not my day job, for lack of a better term, even though it happens during the day as well. So maybe a second or third job would be a better way to describe it. So it's not my primary income, if that's what you're asking. It is a secondary income for me. And guys, if you don't feel comfortable sharing this type of stuff, you don't have to. But I'll throw it to Q if you have a.
So the writing has been my primary income actually since Gamebreaker started. I really haven't done anything else, but I have done different sites, right? Like for a while I worked for Game Skinny, and it. So when I worked as a chef, I pretty much screwed up my back and my wrists. I should have probably had both operated on at some point. So writing is pretty much the thing I can do now.
Fair enough. Jason, I see in chat you say that your main income is your OnlyFans page. Got to sell those feet pics. But you put video game collectibles in the shot too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I was seeing my feet with the Tonberry, it's yeah, I mean, I already answered in chat. Like, it was a 9-to-5 job in an office and everything when I worked for magazines and game companies, but not so much with websites.
There are definitely gray hair fetish people out there.
Yeah,
I know because I came. Sorry to call ask that if there were gray hair fetish people. There are.
What did I miss?
I saw this video. I saw this clip on Instagram where a guy was talking about gray hair and how sexy it is. So it's there.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah, so yeah, that's fun. It is definitely fun. It is not as easy as you think it is. You don't get nearly as many freebies as you think you do, but there are freebies and perks occasionally, and those are always nice. I mean, Wayfinder's in chat. I believe, if I'm remembering right, Wayfinder is one of those companies that sent us early access keys. And none of these companies have to do that. We're going to buy the damn thing anyway, right? And because we want to make a video on it or we want to talk about it on the podcast. But they were kind enough to do so. I'm pretty sure Wayfinder did that.
That is one advantage, too. When you do buy games, we can deduct it on our taxes.
That is true, too. Yeah, right? Because it is a business deduction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling the pinch in ad revenue the way it is these days? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like there's no ducking around that question. Absolutely.
The ad revenue though has always been a problem. Even back in Game Breaker.
Yeah. That was why the magazines I worked for
the statistics were basically like 48% of users on the internet use ad blockers. And honestly, I don't blame most people because the ads that are on the internet are atrocious and they're not great for your computer. And like, so I totally get it. But it sucks for us.
Yeah, it is getting harder and harder. And I mean, you're seeing this in the video game industry as a whole, but to pull it just to the journalism side of things, you're seeing it harder and harder for kind of like that middle tier of websites like ours to survive, right? I mean, you're seeing big dogs fall too, no doubt, but it is far easier for the big dogs to stay afloat. And it is far easier for things like my personal channel, Ready Check Radio, to do its own thing because I don't need it to generate income. So like those one or two people having fun writing a blog or doing whatever, those two bands are generally okay, with some exceptions for large media conglomerates that shut down certain sites. But it is very hard to do what we do and what Massively does and stuff like that. Be that like middle tier. Other sites even use like Patreon and stuff to get support from. We've stayed away from that. Will that always be the case? Who knows? I don't know. I don't own the site, but yeah, it's definitely harder to do this now than it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. 100%. 100%. Okay, let's slide over now. And if you have questions about working in this type of field, again, we're not the huge dogs or anything, so don't think it's an ego thing there. We know exactly where we rank. We're the #1 channel on YouTube. That's what the staff keeps telling me. Let's talk about some news. Throw your questions in the comments below. Now, we actually have a special guest in chat that I didn't even know was going to be here. We very much appreciate it. Let's talk about some comings and goings, some interesting things going on in the world of multiplayer gaming this week. Wayfinder. You guys remember Wayfinder, right? That unfortunate set of circumstances, right? Kind of doing some MMO stuff in a co-op dungeon delving world. The game tailor-made for me, Jason. I remember talking to you about this. It was tailor-made for me. Right?
The game isn't tailor-made for you.
It was just dungeons. It was PvE, dungeons, go do it. It's my favorite part of MMOs. Tailor-made for me. I was very excited by Wayfinder. It had its challenges at launch, right? Servers weren't that great. Lots of queues. It was challenging to say the least. And then they lost their publisher. Digital Extremes, makers of Warframe, went through a bit of a restructure on their side and kind of pulled back into an internal-only company. What are you laughing at?
I was going to say, that was one of my other least favorite things about this company. Plucky indie dev Digital Extremes.
Yeah. The number of times... Okay, since you spoiled it, I have referenced that on the show multiple times, but I've never said what company it is. It's Digital Extremes. It's Digital Extremes. The number of times I've emailed and talked to their PNR, they're always very nice. They're a great company to work with as far as what we do and our interactions with them. But their boilerplate still identifies themselves as an independent company, and it has bothered Jason and I for years to the point that I've had multiple discussions, and I'm like, you're going to get sued if you keep calling yourself an independent company. You are not independent anymore. You haven't been independent in a long time. when Leiyu Technologies picked you up and then Tencent picked up Leiyu Technologies. You have not been independent for a long time. They're all very nice people. Love them all. They saw our point of view. They weren't willing to change the boilerplate.
Oh my God.
Anyway, yeah, it does look like a mix of WildStar and The Reckoning. Yes. So Digital Extremes condenses, pulls itself internal, and they're going to focus on their own projects. They've got their Wayfinder. They've got their Warframe stuff. They've got Soulframe coming up and maybe some other things in the pipeline. That meant this external game by Airship Syndicate, Wayfinder, which had just really started early access when this happened and was having its troubles. And I think if I remember back to the podcast at the time, we kind of put those troubles, Q, a little more on Digital Extremes than we put on Airship. Because we were like, you're the publisher, man. Help them with some servers. Like,
that is kind of the point, right? Like the publishers are there for promotion to promote it and let people know that it exists, and also to help with some of the financial stuff like servers.
Like you're Digital Extremes. You
And
run
also the
Warframe across
experience,
all
right?
platforms. Give a brother a server. Come on.
The experience, right? Like you as a publisher who has done your own games and all of that, now you've taken this other company under your wing, like they should benefit from that, and they didn't.
No, we didn't give Airship Syndicate a pass, right? There were definitely problems in game, some certain systems and things that weren't exactly working in the best of circumstances, and Airship Syndicate kind of got the brunt of our opinions on those types of things, and rightfully so, right? They made the damn game. And then things kind of went quiet for a little bit, Jason, because it was what's going to happen to Wayfinder. The team had said when they lost the publisher, the arrangement was done. They said, it's still going to be a thing. We're still working on it. We're just going to take it internal. Cool. All right. And then it was just quiet. And they had made a few different updates and a few seasonal events in there, but there was really nothing really big on the Wayfinder front for quite some time. And then we got word maybe a week or so ago that we're going to have some announcements. And then they went ahead and announced what's going on. So here's the deal. Wayfinder, which was previously going to eventually launch as this free-to-play MMO-ish dungeon delving co-op game with microtransactions and stuff, is now scrapping a lot of those buzzwords. They were like, you know what, we're just going to take a lot of these buzzwords off. Let's not be so much of an MMO anymore, and let's just be a game you can play by yourself, or if you want to play with a couple of friends via, the PlayStation Network or Steam servers, cool, you can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and take away that microtransactions buzzword. We're not going to sell those damn things anymore either, so let's get those out of there, which immediately probably brings to mind, Jason, how you going to feed the kids?
Hopefully.
How you going to
Hopefully
feed
through all those box prices, yeah.
Right. How you going to feed the family? Well, they're going to have a box price. They're going to stick with the box price. So no microtransactions. No, the game will not eventually turn free to play like was the original plan in the early access period. Now it's just going to have a box price priced at $25 during early access, and that includes all the current and future content. This price is expected to increase post-early access. And they've kind of released a roadmap. This is part of the Echoes update, right? And so on May 31st, later this month, it's going to have this soft launch of this more single-player, co-op with your friends, $25 box price game with no microtransactions. That's going to launch for founders on Steam. PlayStation players, you're going to continue doing your thing. Like, do whatever the hell you want. Keep playing. June 11th, the Echoes update itself is live, and sales will resume at the $25 price point. So if you have the Founders Pack now, May 31st. If you don't have it now, June 11th. Okay? On Steam. This summer, PlayStation will get the Echoes update, and sales will resume there for $25 as well. And then in the fall of this year, we'll have the price increase across both PlayStation and Steam. It'll leave early access, and that's when an anticipated Xbox release is expected as well. So let's talk high level real quick on this, Jason. What's your thought here? Is this the right move? Can this succeed? What are the challenges? What is your gut instinct when you see this line of direction for Wayfinder and Airship Syndicate?
So I'm looking at Steam charts, and it's currently showing that there are about 30 players online. So there really can't be a wrong move at this point.
Well, again, though, you're severely, one, that's only half of the potential platforms,
Sure.
and then two, you're also limited to the only people that can access it right now as of this exact moment are if you have previously bought a Founders Pack. There is no way into this yet for your average player, and there is no way into this yet having seen this news. And if it makes you happy and want to check out the game, you still got to wait a little bit. So I don't know if player base right at this exact moment, but let's also not be coy. The player base has not been big from the start.
I mean, it started around 11,000 according to Steam charts. It's been double-digit decline percentage every month since. Also got a 45% positive on Steam, so that's not good at all. But it's funny. It's like when I watched the intro video to find out what's the game about, it's these these dead heroes that are being resurrected to fight the war again. And I'm thinking that's kind of what they're doing with the game. It's kind of dead, and they're going to try to resurrect it. So it fits with the theme of it, but.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It's hard to give a whole lot of hope though when it's, like I said, it's been declining every month. Has even if you look at the first reviews, even like you go down the chart and you see down there, it is more than half negative. You look at like the first week or whatever.
Yeah, so kind of some chat questions going on here, and if you had followed Wayfinder, you probably know like this was one of the things discussed way back when that was maybe a negative, and maybe in hindsight maybe the decisions wouldn't be made this way. Yeah, when you log into this, you just pick a character. It's very hero-based. You pick there is no character creation a la MMO. Now, I think this makes a little more sense given the direction they're going in, and kind of this single player and dabble with your friends here and there. But as an MMO, that was very surprising. Like, holy hell, like, why can't I just create a character? And the explanation we always received from the team was, there's a narrative reason. We want to be able to tell specific stories with each of these characters. And that's a lot harder to do when everybody's running around looking and being a totally different person. We want to know motivations for these heroes, why they're here, why they're doing what they're doing, how their narratives may intersect at certain points, how they relate to each other. Makes sense, but then it became a question of, are we ever going to get to see that with all the befell Wayfinder after that? Wayfinder's been doing a number of interviews. I know there's going to be a video one up today that Q will be covering once it comes up, and I send her the link for it. But from some other sites, like they interviewed with Massively, and I don't want to read through their whole interview. Go read it. It's a good interview. I know Matthew wants to do an interview with the Wayfinder team here. I told him we're going to wait to request that until we see the video interview today, because I expect that to be pretty comprehensive, the way the team's been teasing that. This is the question that I do want to bring up here, though, Q, and get your take on it, because I think it's an important question. They obviously talk about some of the changes, why, and they seem to be pretty honest with some of the answers on, like, yeah, some things were less than ideal, and we gotta find a way to push forward. The last question was, finally, it sounded to our writing staff as if the game is a half step away from maintenance mode. Can you reassure us and everyone else that it's not? And this is with AJ over at the Wayfinder team. La Saracena, I hope I pronounced that right. AJ La Saracena. We've put a ton of work into the game to get here, and then the last 3 months while we worked on the Echoes update. It isn't a repackage of what exists today. It's a huge fundamental shift that we think players will be shocked and also happy with once they get into it. As I mentioned above, we're keen to support the game if there is an audience, and that also means other things outside of just content. Official mod support, crossplay, matchmaking, lobbies, they're all things we've explored and we want to do, but didn't with our limited time and resources. If it makes sense financially to do it in early access or beyond, we'll do it. Q, what are you thinking?
So I'm sitting here kind of thinking, like, people are in chatter talking about how, or somebody said that it's weird that you would be able to go from a basically free-to-play game to a buy-to-play game. But it is a little weird, right?
Gigantic just did it.
You're used to the shift going the other way, but they're not the first ones. They're definitely not the first ones to do it. Torchlight did it. Remember, we were supposed to have a
Yeah.
Torchlight MMO,
Yep.
and then they went nah, and it went back
It's a
to being
successful game that's done it.
That's the problem, right? Like you
So-
introduce and to be fair, Wayfinder's already had the barrier, right? The price barrier, because it was in early access, and the only way to jump in was by making that early access purchase, and those started at, I think, $20 at the time. Oh, that is you in chat. Oh, and AJ's in chat. Perfect. Thank you. And I got the name right. Sweet. Sometimes I
Yay.
know what I'm doing. Sometimes I can phonetically say things. So it's not a new barrier of entry at the moment, and the game was never free, so they're not creating a brand new barrier. It's a barrier that's already been there. But I imagine, Jason, that there was a big period of time where anybody interested in Wayfinder might, particularly with the server issues, might have looked at it and said, I'll wait until it's free and check it out. I think I might like it, but they're having issues right now, and I'm not paying for those issues. And now that audience is the one that, how big is that audience? I don't know. But that's the one that is now going to have to pay to get in, and maybe they aren't willing to.
There's always that expectation. Anytime you change the payment model, whether it's buy to play to free to play or free to buy, it's going to encounter a lot of friction, which might be okay if the game is spectacular and people are loving it and they're like, okay, maybe I'll live with it. But, in this case, there are already issues, as we said before, and this just adds to the issues and gives you it makes you wonder again about the long-term viability of the game. I think is a big issue. Like the game, for whatever reason, the game I'm thinking of with this is like Breach. Remember when Breach was?
Oh wow, yes, Breach was pretty freaking cool.
It was cool if it ran on my computer, but but they did something too where they like changed their. They didn't change the payment model entirely, but they had a lot of sales or something or discounts.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you're already doing discounts in alpha or whatever, you're having some problems. So it's like making a change of this nature when you're still this early in development and still not getting great reviews and whatever doesn't look great.
This is one that I want to succeed very, very much.
I feel like
Personally, not as a game website dude, editor in chief. Just personally, I want this to succeed.
I feel like in this case too, some sort of change had to happen because they basically had the carpet ripped out from under them. By Digital Extremes pulling out, and so they have to change how they're doing things in order to be able to do it themselves. And I don't know. For me, that's something I would take into account personally. Like, so they haven't officially launched. This isn't like a situation where the game has been out for however long and they suddenly decided to go and change everything, right? Like it's a buy-in early access, which means not nearly as many people are playing it as would be, at any kind of launch. And I personally would, look at that, like it's them doing it by themselves now. So and how much of the negative reaction was the servers and things that they should have received help with versus, just less than stellar development on the game. Like it was a combination of the two, right? So if they fixed the development, they fixed the problems that were uniquely theirs and weren't associated with DE in any way, and they can show that, it might work just fine.
And going to, I know, Jason, you seem dubious, and I'm going to go to you in just a second there, but I do want to say this shift in direction certainly addresses the server side of things, right? Because now you're going to be playing via PlayStation Network, via Steam, in little team up with your friend co-op. There's not an MMO massive, lots of players server that needs to be maintained on the other side. So that's certainly going to help with one of the big primary day one early access issues. Now, I'll give you a chance because I saw you were somewhat dubious on some of the things. Q thought, well, maybe. And you were like, no.
Just the other thing another thing that's happened over time is people being less willing to buy into, it's just early access. It's not the real game. Whatever. You're charging us money to play the game, deliver a good product.
Well, and we were very clear, like we said the exact same thing. Like when we were talking about their issues way back when, you can throw around it's still in early access, but sorry, our view has always been you're charging. By the time you start asking for cash, I don't care what label it is on it anymore. That's do you have to have PSN to play on PlayStation? Well, yeah, because you're gonna have to use their multiplayer network. Yeah, you're gonna have to use their multiplayer network.
So I look at the paid early access thing two ways. Yes, they are charging us for it, and therefore the game should be of a certain quality, except we know what stage it is in when we elect to give them money for early access, which is a really ridiculous thing for us to do as consumers, to be like, here's money for what we probably figure is an unfinished game. and without being like, without sitting down and really thinking it's an unfinished game I'm giving somebody money for. Now, when you're like, the game is fully launched and it's still an unfinished game, which there are so many of these days, and by much larger companies,
yeah,
then I consider it a much bigger problem. But some of the onus is on us when we are paying money for something that they explicitly are telling you is not the finished product. Like, that's a choice that we made.
So here's kind of my personal final take on this. One, I personally want this to work. Not only because 2024 has been absolutely abysmal to gaming employees in general, and I'd hate to see more impacted by a game just not working out over at Airship Syndicate. Set that aside for a minute. Of course, I don't want that to happen. I love the concept. It takes my favorite aspect of MMORPGs and says, that's the game. Just go do that thing that you love doing in MMOs, take away all the other stuff, and go do that thing. Are there things I wish they would change? And maybe there are going to be some substantial changes in the Echoes update. There's still going to be plenty more details coming about the Echoes update, by the way. Like, there's going to be more here on this front. I hope this works. I also feel like, though, that this does smack of, we didn't have any other option if we wanted to move forward at all. And we have a team that's very dedicated and passionate about it. We want to try and move this forward. Let's take this step and see what happens. And I kind of, and maybe it's just the way I'm reading it, but I kind of got that impression from AJ's answer. We want to move on to Massively's questions. There are things we want to do. We want to move forward. We want to do additional things, mods, new content, etc., etc. But there's got to be an audience to do that. Hopefully this change gives Wayfinder enough of an audience to actually move forward. But it does feel very, we had to go this way. Jason, am I way off?
No, but that is part of the early access dilemma is, Q is right that we shouldn't be paying for it if we're not expecting to get an unfinished game, but then they shouldn't also be offering it if it's unfinished enough that it's going to be screwing up and getting bad reviews and whatever. So
AJ in chat from the Wayfinder team answering chat's questions. It's very kind of you, by the way. Thank you. And we will be in contact for an interview if you're willing to do one. Again, I want to see what comes from the video because I don't want to ask you the same damn questions over again and just waste your time. Saying they're doing a live stream next week with AJ and the game director, so that's cool. Stay tuned for that if you want to see some like the updated gameplay from the Echoes update, because some of the footage you're seeing now may be older. And AJ saying we had two choices when we faced this reality. So it looks like I'm dead on point here. Shut it all down, or make a 1.0 version of the game for people to own forever. If there's an audience and people play it like it, we'll support it for as long as we can with content and systems. Oh, the interview wasn't with you, but here to do a call. Cool. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, okay, so dead on, right? This was either just lock it up, send it home, or make a last-ditch effort and see what happens. And I wish them luck. I know I'll be checking it out, but other interesting news, Dead by Daylight turning 8 and celebrating with like a ton of shit, like a ton of stuff. I shouldn't say a ton of shit. That like makes it sound bad.
That sounded
right?
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
all this shit.
This is a ton of absolute garbage.
It is a very versatile word that means both good and bad. bad things.
They're getting a 2v8 gameplay mode that's on the way. They've released some other products in the universe that you can go check out now on Steam for like $5, and they gave away like the first million or two of them for free or whatever. It was like a PvE shooter named Project T is in the works. What the Fog? That's the one that you can go get on Steam now. And there's just items, add-ons, new killers, new map. It was a huge eight-year anniversary celebration there, Q. Not too bad, not too shabby.
No, there is a lot there. What surprised me though was the spin-off games. Like I don't know why I wasn't expecting Dead by Daylight spin-offs, but I wasn't. And they're like, not only is there this Codename one coming, but we've launched one already today. Right. Yeah. So
that's pretty
so
awesome.
I guess they're having a good time.
Speaking of
that guy in the 2v8 for that one guy of the survivors is going to get both the monsters killers chasing after him.
That's kind of awesome.
The Seveners doing whatever they want.
Well, the weird thing is if you read the thing about it, like they do away with the hooks and give them cages instead, right? Like the 2v changes a bunch of the mechanics or whatever, so that it's not just that they added, two monsters and 8 people, like expanded it that way. They expanded the map and they changed some of the mechanics and stuff to make it an actual a slightly different mode.
New World decided it wanted to go ahead and just piss its entire player base off this past week. Again. Yeah, I mean, so obviously New World players have been pretty vocal about, could we please stop being told, wait till June, wait till June, wait till June, right? Because the team's been plugging a big announcement in June. Really, the only, we've guessed here, the only thing the announcement could really be, since they've already said there's no expansion this year, is that New World's coming to consoles. But there's got to be something else with that, because your current player base isn't the one that really is going to take the most benefit out of that type of announcement. I don't know what it is for sure. We'll see in June. But players were sick of being told, wait till June. They're not getting updates. They're not getting news. They're not getting content. There's just a lot of growing frustration. And so they put out an Eye on Eternium episode where they talked about all kinds of fun stuff. But basically, in the community, in the video, they start talking about the June update, the June announcement. Lively Katie seems to be spilling the beans on the entire June update, except they blur her mouth and play music over her voice every time she talked about something in that upcoming announcement. Q has the shocked face. Yeah, fans were pissed. Players were miffed. A little bit. How tone deaf.
Don't mess with MMO players when they're facing the content.
How tone deaf. It just amazes me sometimes.
Was this a decision their community team made, or I'm sitting here trying to suss this out, because I'm used to not dealing in New World, right? But as a fan of certain shows, I'm used to Amazon Prime videos. There's how their social media stuff works, and I'm just. They're obviously not trained by the same people.
Yeah, people were so pissed. New World Amazon Games did have to release a statement. They said the intention of this interview was to poke fun at ourselves. However, the impact is clearly not what we aimed for. That's on us. Next video we put out will 100% be focused on all the things you want to hear. That said, we do hope everyone does recognize that while most of the interview is censored, the duration of the discussion was actually concerning the update. There is a lot coming, and we all wish we could say more. So I guess they're saying, hey, look at how much censoring we had to do, Jason. That should give you an idea that there's a lot of content in this.
And before they have a 3-minute video describing their content.
Right. It's been a long time since we heard from the Division Heartland, because that's because it's canceled. The free-to-play shooter taking place in the IP of Ubisoft's The Division is no more. Announced in 2021, slated for release in early 2022. Good joke. That didn't happen. They accidentally put up a website that had to disappear real quickly when that was an accident. We saw last June a PC closed beta, then it was delayed again. Then there was speculation just like a month ago that the project had wildly changed direction. this week as part of Ubisoft's earnings report, in which they did very well as far as their new focus and their revenue streams and their profit margins. But they did say things like Heartland, they got to go. We want fewer, bigger games, live services. So they're going to shift some people over to X Defiant and Rainbow Six properties. So if you were waiting on Heartland, goodbye. And Monsters and Memory. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Troy.
I remember when we first heard about
Troy,
this.
Jason.
Spoiler for their. Got that spoiler for their playtest. Like we got some leaked video or whatever. And I remember thinking, why another shooter? Because they had X Defiant, as you mentioned already, and they have this. It's like, what's the difference?
Yeah, X Defiant not exactly inspiring
shooter?
confidence with the number of times it's been delayed in its release in 10 days.
There's a lot of Ubisoft stuff that just doesn't inspire confidence in general.
True. Hey, if you're looking to check out Monsters and Memories, the more indie MMO RPG from Niche World's Cult, their stress test for June actually has dates now. It's Saturday, June 1st. From 1 p.m. until 4, and then they're going to have a weekend play test that'll run Friday, June 28th until Sunday, June 30th. So like a 3-hour session on the 1st, and then a weekend at the end of June. You can sign up on their website. Before we slide over and do the weekly bombs, Q, wanted to give you a chance to talk about some Final Fantasy XIV and their live letter that you posted the recap for yesterday.
Oh, we did? Okay.
We did.
I mean, most people, anybody who's been paying attention to the live letter announcements and stuff knew that there were 2 more live letters coming before actual launch, and this one, the one that they held yesterday at, a very early time for lots of people in America, but was all about the jobs, except for the brief segment they spent showing off the adjustments that they're making to the benchmark, but I really didn't cover that because it's the benchmark. So, we got the job video, it looks all, cool and everything, and there are quite a few changes coming to the game that, like, I know people are excited about because, like I've talked to a Black Mage player who's really, really happy that they're going to let you move your ley lines.
I'm very happy as a Black Mage main. That's
right, like that's great. My big excitement was that they're actually giving us combos. Like it'll be interesting to see how it works out, but the fact that they're actually giving us combos to cut down on some of that, hotbar clutter is great. They showed off the 2 new jobs, and Pictomancer looks complicated. But the Viper is like the first one to actually just straight up use the combo system in full, like it's designed around it. By the way, the combo thing is actually called action change settings. Let me just find it. Where was the list of the changes?
People were they're finding the combo system a little controversial, I'm seeing.
Well, see, the combo system shouldn't be controversial because you can turn it on if you want to.
Yeah, but this is gaming. Come on.
Right, unless you're competing with each other. Like if it were in PvP and they were like, we're going to let you, like in the PvP area, it makes sense to me that this is not something that you would want. You would want it to be equal for everyone.
Yeah.
But if I'm running dungeons or, just, piddling around in general content or whatever, it doesn't matter to you if I'm using combos. Like, and I mean, half of the player base probably is, or a large portion of the player base, the portion that, does things they shouldn't necessarily be doing.
Yes, Takao. It's the combo system in PvP.
Right. I'm saying if they made it a difference in PvP, right? Like, and you felt it gave somebody an advantage to have combos versus, but in the you personally do not have to use combos. So if you're like, and Yoshi P talked about it, we know some people don't want to sit there and hit the same button. right? And we're trying to avoid making, so you have the option to turn it on. And it almost
And then they
sounds
went
like,
ahead and showed Viper, which was basically based on using this system.
yeah, Viper is based around the system, yes. But the rest of them, you turn it on, and it should be fine. And I think there will probably be some jobs there just really aren't that many combos for, because it's the whole certain things running into other things, right? And some jobs just don't do that as much. But yeah, they've made a lot of changes that I think will actually be pretty useful to people. But I do think the ones that I saw that people were excited about, the Astrologians, some people were excited about the Astrologians card change, where instead of it being random, you pull up 4 cards and just kind of have, you have a little bit more to work with. And
it was a long live letter.
It was 5 hours. It didn't need to be. I mean, the last portion of it, the last portion of it, when they were doing all of the announcements, like they announced that the Fall Guys event is coming back because we didn't have enough events going already.
No.
I think they've just
and by the way, go buy Mountain
Dew.
Dew.
They just want us to live our lives in the gold saucer until Dawn Trail comes out. I think that's what's going on.
And North Americans, go buy Mountain Dew. Japanese players, go buy KFC. European players, get bent. There's no event for you. There's no event for you. Jason, you actually play 14 now, right? Are you still in 14?
No, I just play for a month every now and then. Probably need to avoid it now because everybody, with the expansion coming out, what is it, in July?
Yeah.
Yeah, June 28th.
End of June for the early access.
I can't play again until like September at least, when things have died down a bit, probably. But yeah, no, I like the combos, especially ideas, because I'm certainly because I'm sitting there like 1, 2, 3, 1. It's like my combo. This attack does 50 more damage when it's then after this one, and this one's 100 after this. So people just press one button, and then I can just kind of sit back, grab a drink. Wait for my 12 seconds of global cooldown. Oh, I got hit button again? All right. 1. All right.
It'll be like V4 Global. V4 Global. Yeah. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs and call it a day. This slander is slanderous. All right, let's do the weekly bombs. Remember, dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. Let us know what it is. Q, you're up.
I'm gonna give it A bomb to just not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, that does suck. Jason,
I'm gonna give a dub bomb to Against the Storm. That's the game that's been consuming me as of late. It's a roguelike city builder, where you build a city. It takes you about 2 hours. You got to do all the usual stuff. You got to like process things and get resources and so on, make you keep people happy and don't let them die or whatever. And yeah, you play for about 2 hours and you win that round. And you go on to the next one. You got an overworld map. You got to like keep progressing along. You got to do these like basically bosses at the end where you have these seals you have to close up. And it's a lot of fun. I've got over 100 hours in it already. Still got a long ways to go because they keep adding challenges, to keep adding bonuses. That's the roguelike aspect of it.
Neat.
It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, like 95%. So definitely go check it out if that's something you can be into.
Very neat. I'm going to give a dub bomb for Wayfinder's new direction. I think it's the right call. Now, how successful it'll be is an entirely different matter. We'll have to revisit later. And I'm going to give a dub bomb to me slowly converting Troy to collectible card games online. You know he hates them. But I made him do an article on Screenplay, the card game that just hit a demo, or I think they kicked off early access now, but was a demo on our last show. And I made him write an article on it as part of his assignments one day, and he replied to me, "Screenplay done. Of all the CCGs you've ever shown me, this one looks the most interesting." So I'm slowly, inch by inch, getting him over to CCGs. From chat, Stojanowski says, "Da-bomb to Medieval Dynasty." Japan Freak says, "Da-bomb to Jason and his awesome streams." Takao saying, "Da-bomb to EA releasing the NCAA 25 trailer." A-bomb for EA not telling me if draft classes are exportable to Madden yet. Kisasha says to bomb to all of the smaller games that are way more enjoyable than these AAA or even quadruple A games. Yeah, way to go, Ubisoft. Good old quadruple A. From YouTube or mmobomb.com on last episode, K-Sharp says to bomb to Bethesda. Really, I'm just giving them props. Whoever decided to license Fallout for a live series show and leave it to show creators to have most of the creative control paid off in dividends. Gaming friends who never touched a Fallout game have been asking where to get them, buying Steam bundles and other deals to start playing even the old ones like Fallout 3, Shelter, and New Vegas. From what I've been reading, Bethesda has seen an increase in profits and renewed interest in buying their games. Yeah, and it seems like every weekend one of the Fallout games beats its concurrent players' high water mark from years ago every single weekend. Go ahead, Jason.
YouTube commenter 1, great name. Weekly Bomb, giving it a bomb to indie games in general as of late, while major publishers seem to be having a hold my beer on which is a crummier company. Indie devs are just watching the dumpster fire from a distance while making fun games to play, like Against the Storm.
Look at you, just a natural plug. Churro Dude in chat saying to bomb to Monsters and Memories for chugging along and bringing more tests with their tiny development team. Yeah, it's definitely one I've been watching for a while. Go ahead, Q.
To call 2399, a bomb to last week's panel for repeating the tired internet nerd rage about the MS shutdowns. So about that, as long as they keep doing this shit, we're going to continue to be pissed about it.
Question of the week last week in general. Takao and I had a great discussion actually yesterday on this, so we'll leave it at that. Question of the week, is gaming doomed? And I know, the question may sound facetious, but seriously, what's wrong with the gaming industry right now, and how do you fix it? K-Sharp, long answer here. So I'm going to cut this short. The gaming industry may not be doomed, but they are in trouble. There's been an entire culture shift in what exactly the gaming industry is and who it is over the past decade or more. I'm one of those Gen X folks everyone on TikTok is making fun of, but in our day, console and PC gaming was all about the fun, the unique challenges, and the story and the experience of the games. Or it was just a LAN party of fun playing sports games together, early competitive shooters, or even the likes of Mario Kart and Mario Party. We didn't care how much it cost Square Enix to make Final Fantasy VII or how many copies it sold. We liked it at the time for the solid story, the gameplay, and experience. But then investors and investment firms started to get involved, and in the next big anticipated game would not return 30% or better profits to its shareholders. It was taken down or canceled. And he goes on to describe that a little more. Again, there's a certain aspect of truth to that, right? The greedy get greedier type deal. And that's certainly not exclusive to gaming, but here we see it. Go ahead, Jason.
Foot7 says, is gaming doomed? I hope not, because it's, besides work, it's all I do.
That is a good outlook. Go ahead, Q.
YouTube commenter 1. Personally, it feels like a combination of bloat, size, and greed are all factors in why gaming, at least the AA, AAA sphere anyway, have so many issues. I've been looking at more indie studios for the last decade or so for generally more fun and worthwhile experiences overall. Doesn't help there's a large issue with turnovers and burnout in general when it comes to game developers either.
Yeah, again, not wrong.
I feel like it's like a combination of bloat, size, and greed.
Yeah.
Over the past 20 years or so, we've been getting. There's always been some big explosion. You have your online games, World of Warcraft, then the mobile games and Steam, and then the pandemic made everything bigger. And now, what's that next frontier to keep making it bigger? There might not be one. So.
Yep. And I also, when I was talking to Kyle about this, I said a lot of this has to do with COVID too, right? Like this is a perfect storm of events. There's always an ebb and flow in the video game industry to begin with, right? You make a game, it releases, you get your income, and you hope to make some extended income over the life of that game, but you're also working on your next project, which makes nothing but costs everything. And there's an ebb and a flow to the income. Can you survive those development valleys with what you have on the market and fund the next release? That's the ebb and the flow, and you just naturally see that. A game releases, they cut some staff because they don't need all that staff anymore, and they move on to another project if they can support that downflow of income. Microsoft is running into huge problems with that right now. The cost of operations after the Activision acquisition is massive. Those studios you saw close, that you're kind of like, why did some of those close? That's why. Those studios are in down, straight expense land right now. And the cost of operations is too big for Microsoft. They've got to course correct there or invest, and they weren't willing to invest. To Cal2399 says, question of the week, no, the gaming industry is not doomed and does not need fixing. The games failed to make money, the sole reason they're made. So Microsoft cut the dead weight. Critical reception ain't important if it's not combined with an equally high financial return. You're not wrong here. The only curveball I would throw into this is that Hi-Fi Rush didn't make money because of how popular Microsoft made it on Game Pass. And then they turned around and punished them for that lack of income. That you don't get to do both and still walk away looking like a decent company. Contrary to what dorks on Reddit will tell you, the game industry does not and has not ever cared about innovation and creativity. You think Capcom crapped out 6 Mega Man games on the NES for the love? You think all those Pong and Asteroid clones in the 70s and 80s were made for creative purposes? No, but all of those were what led to the North American video game crash in 1983. Hello, McFly. They were made for straight cash, homie. The game industry will keep chugging along. It'll just be less forgiving of money losing failures going forward. Sounds like normal self-correction to me. Nothing to fix. I'm not going to reply to Cal. You and I discussed this yesterday on our other stream, so we'll leave it there. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead and take the last one by Just Sue Me. A lot of you left great comments on this one, by the way, but the show's already an hour and 15 minutes long, and I try to keep it at an hour. So. Please make sure you leave comments.
Sumi says, looks like the gaming industry isn't expanding like it used to. Basically, this is what I've been saying. Basically, the market pies are getting bigger and companies fight for the bigger slice. So if one game is making money, usually means another game is losing out. We've seen this play out before with MMORPGs. It's not just video games either. Every entertainment service like video and music streaming platforms, live TV, audiobooks, you name it, they all fight for our time.
100%. Question of the week this week, while you're down there giving us your weekly bombs. What do we think of the Wayfinder change? Is this the right direction to right the ship? Will it be successful? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Now, remember, no show next week. I'm going to be traveling to Chicago, but we'll be back the week after that, so we'll be sure to get your question of the week answers on Wayfinder and your weekly bombs on to next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Blue Sky at Miscreation.
On Blue Sky. Remember that. Blue Sky.
Butterfly.
Butterfly.
With the butterfly.
Jason.
Are you allowed to even talk about Blue Sky on Twitter?
I don't know.
I don't know anymore.
Sort of.
Still find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter. And of course, I'm doing my YouTube channel, Fantasy Roots, where I delve into fantasy stuff and the historical background behind them, like some of the old articles I used to do here on MMOBomb.
Yep, very cool stuff. Highly recommend checking it out. They're great videos. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb. That way you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast, a stream. We've posted a new interview, a giveaway, articles, first look videos, and so much more. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.